Imagine being an ordinary guy, minding your own business on what was supposed to be the vacation of a lifetime. You've won a tour of the galaxy, the stars, alien planets, and experiences that most could only dream of. But suddenly, you're standing in the middle of a strange gladiatorial arena, holding a can of energy drink in your hand, watching a 7-foot-tall purple warrior wielding a glowing blade, fighting off a creature so terrifying it looks like a nightmare made flesh. And then, without any warning, without any intention, you're the one who changes everything. A simple, unthinking toss of your can at the recycling bin ricochets, hits the beast's weak spot, and you've just accidentally saved the day. That's how you go from tourist to hero. But here's the kicker. On this alien planet, your actions mean more than just being a lucky bystander. No, according to their ancient customs, by defeating their monster, you've now proven yourself the chosen mate of the most powerful warrior in the galaxy. And the consequences? Well, let's just say they're not exactly optional. This is where Noah Reed, an IT expert from Earth, is thrust into a world of ancient traditions, political intrigue, and fierce battles with a beautiful alien princess, now his fiancée, by his side. If you think things can't get more bizarre, hold on. They've only just begun. Ready to dive into a story where the smallest actions spark the greatest changes? Buckle up. You're about to experience a journey where technology meets tradition, and a regular guy from Earth must survive battles and an alien marriage, while trying to figure out how the heck he ended up here in the first place. Noah Reed blinked, his brain still struggling to process what had just happened. One moment, he was sipping on a green energy drink, watching a gladiatorial match on a strange alien planet. The next, he had accidentally defeated the unkillable Genesis beast, and now he was being told he was somehow engaged to its fierce opponent, Lila Storm, a warrior from the powerful Ironclad Clan. Lila stepped closer, her violet eyes narrowed with an intensity that sent a shiver down Noah's spine. The cheers of the crowd still echoed around them, but everything felt like it had slowed to a crawl. "You have claimed victory in the sacred combat," she said, her voice like a melodic warning. "By our laws, you have proven yourself worthy." Noah stammered, raising his hands in defense. "Wait, what? No, I was just trying to recycle the can. I didn't mean to." "Does it matter?" Lila cut him off, her gaze hardening. "You have defeated the Elder Guard. You are now bound by tradition." He rubbed his temples, trying to make sense of it all. "I didn't sign up for any of this," he muttered. "I'm just a tourist. I was supposed to be on a relaxing vacation, not engaged to a warrior princess." Behind Lila, a woman, older and adorned with intricate silver markings on her skin, stepped forward. Noah's translator buzzed to life, rendering her speech in an authoritative tone. "I am Matriarch Celine of the Ironclad Clan," she said, her voice carrying the weight of centuries. "You have defied the odds. You've proven your worth. Now you must accept what has been given." Noah froze, his thoughts whirling in disbelief. "Wait, hold on. There's got to be some mistake. I didn't ask for any of this. I just threw a can. That's not how you get engaged, right?" Lila's expression didn't soften. "You do not understand. Our traditions are sacred. You have been chosen. Refusing this bond would dishonor not only me, but my entire clan." The words hung in the air like a dense fog. Noah tried to back away, yet shaking his head. "Look, I'm not ready for this. I have a life back on Earth. I have a job, a cat. I can't just stay here, marrying an alien warrior." "Refusing the bond would be more than an insult," Celine interjected. "It would trigger blood vengeance, a challenge to your honor that no one has survived in millennia." "Blood vengeance?" The words made Noah's stomach lurch. "Wait, you're telling me that if I turn this down, there's going to be a war? Over marriage?" His voice cracked with disbelief. Lila's gaze softened just a fraction, though the intensity remained. "Yes, it is the way of our people." He ran a hand through his hair, trying to calm his rising panic. "But I'm not a warrior. I don't even know how to fight. This is insane." Lila took a step closer, her violet eyes locked onto his. "You fought with cunning, not strength. You defeated an enemy that our greatest warriors could not. That is why the gods have chosen you." "I threw a can," Noah said, his voice barely above a whisper. "It was garbage." "You saw what they did not," Lila replied, her voice low, filled with something like admiration. "You saw the weakness they couldn't, and that is why you are worthy. Noah opened his mouth to protest again, but the words died in his throat. He was caught, stuck in a world where the smallest, most absurd act could mean the difference between life and death, between staying a tourist and becoming an unwilling participant in an ancient intergalactic tradition. Before he could respond, Celine spoke again, her voice booming across the arena. The selection is binding. The gods have made their choice. You will be wed. Noah's heart sank. He felt a pit of dread in his stomach as the entire arena's energy seemed to shift. The crowd roared with approval, chanting words that Noah could fully understand, but which his translator rendered as union, union. Lila's lips curled into a smile that sent a strange, unsettling warmth through him. The ceremony will begin at moonrise. Prepare yourself, Noah Reed. You have much to learn. His mouth went dry. I? What? Ceremony? This is insane. You will survive the ritual, Lila said, her voice laced with an amusement that did little to calm his nerves. Trust me. Before Noah could even attempt to comprehend what had just happened, he was swept up by attendants in ceremonial garb, who began to strip him of his tourist clothes and fit him into something that looked far more like armor than anything he had ever imagined wearing. His mind raced. This was not what he had signed up for. This was not a vacation. As they tightened the armor around his shoulders, an elderly attendant, her silver tattoos glinting in the light, leaned in and whispered, "You are now bound to Lila Storm. This is an honor." An honor? Yeah, right. Noah's head spun as the attendant stepped back, leaving him standing alone in the center of the arena, dressed like a warrior. I didn't ask for this, he muttered to himself. But the roar of the crowd outside, combined with the anticipation in Lila's eyes, told him everything he needed to know. He was in this now, no matter how absurd it felt. Noah Reed stood in the midst of the Ironclad Clan's preparation chamber, his body encased in ceremonial armor that felt far too tight and awkward. He couldn't help but shift uncomfortably, feeling more like a prize animal than a partner. The attendants who had dressed him continued their work, adjusting the metal plates around his shoulders and waist, tightening every strap as though it were a matter of life and death. Lila Storm stood by, her eyes never leaving him, her expression unreadable but intense. The ceremonial hall was filled with the murmur of voices, and Noah couldn't help but notice how strange everything felt. Alien, foreign. His mind kept circling back to the moment when he'd thrown that damn can, just trying to aim for the recycling bin. How had it all led here? You look like you've seen a ghost, Lila said, a faint smirk playing at the corner of her lips. I feel like I've just signed up for a lifetime of nightmares, Noah muttered, his hands fumbling with the armored gloves that were too tight. Lila chuckled, a rich sound that was strangely comforting in this bizarre situation. Do not fear. The worst is over. The binding ceremony will not be as difficult as you imagine. The worst is over? Noah repeated, incredulous. I've been involuntarily engaged to an alien warrior princess, and you're telling me the worst is over? What is the worst then? You mean the whole blood vengeance thing? Lila's expression flickered with amusement, but there was a glint in her eyes. That is merely tradition. What matters now is what happens next. She stepped closer, her presence towering over him as she placed a hand on his armored chest. You have proven yourself worthy, Noah Reed. You defeated the Elder Guard, a creature no warrior could conquer. What you did was not random. It was strategy. I threw a can, Noah exclaimed, finally throwing his hands up in frustration. It wasn't strategy. It was a complete accident. Lila's gaze softened just a fraction. Perhaps, but even the gods allow accidents to shape destinies. You saw what no one else did. The Elder Guard's weakness, its neural control node, hidden in the back of its skull. Noah blinked, the weight of her words finally sinking in. Wait, you mean You exploited its weakness, Lila continued, her voice softening with something akin to admiration. In combat, sometimes brute strength is not enough. The best warriors can see the patterns others miss. Noah felt a flush of heat rise to his cheeks. I'm not a warrior, Lila. I'm an IT guy from Earth. I recognize patterns in code, not monsters. Lila's eyes gleamed. Then you are more skilled than you think. Before Noah could respond, an attendant entered the chamber, her voice urgent. Matriarch Celine requests your presence. The Elder Council wishes to discuss the next steps in the sacred union. Lila looked at Noah, her expression serious once again. It seems the time has come. You must face the council and accept what they have deemed your fate. Noah's throat went dry. I haven't even been on this planet for 2 hours, and already I'm being dragged into political meetings and weddings. Is this how it's done everywhere in the galaxy? Lila offered him a playful smile, her lips curling with a mixture of amusement and something else, something deeper. No. But on Viora Prime, destiny often calls us in unexpected ways. The attendant led them down the hall toward the council chamber, the heavy footsteps of Noah's armored boots echoing off the crystal walls. The grandeur of the place was overwhelming, massive crystal spires stretching toward the ceiling, light refracting off the polished surfaces in every direction. The atmosphere felt charged, almost as if the very air was humming with power. As they approached the door, Lila turned to Noah, her voice low. The council is powerful. They will test you, Noah. They will push you to see if you are worthy of this union. Prepare yourself. Noah felt a knot tighten in his stomach. Test me? How? They will question your choices, your intellect, and your ability to lead by my side, she explained. But you must remain firm. Show them that your mind is sharp, that you are capable of seeing things others cannot. Noah swallowed hard, feeling the weight of her words. I'm not sure I can handle a test from a group of... He stopped, the doors to the council chamber sliding open before he could finish his sentence. Inside, the elder council awaited them, seated on thrones made of glowing crystal. Matriarch Selene sat at the center, her regal presence commanding attention as she looked down at Noah. The other matriarchs, each wearing ornate, intricately designed armor, watched him with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. Lila moved to stand beside him, her posture regal, but Noah felt anything but. His hands were clammy inside the gauntlets, his mind racing as he tried to steady his nerves. Matriarch Selene's voice broke the silence. Noah Reed, you stand here today, not as a warrior, but as a chosen mate. Tell us, why should we believe that you are worthy of our clan's greatest warrior? The question hung in the air, sharp and direct. Noah opened his mouth, unsure of what to say, but then Lila's words echoed in his mind. You saw the weakness others missed. He straightened up, suddenly aware of the power he held in this moment. Because I did what no one else could. I recognized the pattern in the Elder Guard's movements. I exploited its weakness, even if I didn't fully understand what I was doing at the time. In life, it's not always about brute strength. Sometimes it's about seeing what others don't. The room fell silent for a moment, and Noah could feel every eye in the chamber on him. Finally, Selene nodded, her expression softening slightly. Your answer is unexpected, she said, her voice almost thoughtful, but it is a testament to the wisdom of your actions. Perhaps there is more to you than we first believed. Lila's hand brushed against Noah's, a silent show of support. Well said, she whispered. Just as Noah was about to respond, an alarm blared throughout the chamber, followed by the voice of a frantic guard. Intruders! There's been a breach in the outer perimeter. The security systems have been compromised. Noah's heart raced as the entire room tensed. Lila's expression hardened instantly. It seems our trial will be postponed, she said, turning toward the guards. Prepare for a breach. Noah, stay close. As the council members rose to action, Noah had no idea what was coming next. But he had a feeling that whatever it was going to be a lot more dangerous than anything he'd faced so far. The atmosphere inside the council chamber grew tense as the alarms blared through the vast halls of the Ironclad Clan's fortress. Noah's heart raced, and the weight of the ceremonial armor felt heavier than ever. The crystal walls surrounding them seemed to hum with the growing urgency. Lila moved swiftly, her posture now commanding, every movement exuding the fierce confidence of a seasoned warrior. Stay close, she muttered to Noah as she drew her energy blade from its sheath with a fluid motion. The blue light of the blade hummed in the dimly lit chamber, casting sharp shadows on her face. Yeah, I'm right behind you, Noah said, trying to keep up despite the awkward weight of his armor. The guards rushed past them, their weapons at the ready, and Noah could feel his panic rising. What exactly is happening? Who's behind this breach? Lila's eyes narrowed. I don't know yet, but we'll find out soon enough. Her voice was steady, betraying no fear. This could be an attempt to sabotage the clan, or worse, steal our technology. Noah's mind raced. He had no idea what kind of technology they were talking about, but he knew enough from his time in the galaxy to realize that it was probably not anything good if someone was willing to breach the fortress for it. He had to focus. This wasn't a moment to freeze up. "What kind of technology?" Noah asked, his voice shaking slightly despite his best efforts to stay calm. "What's so important here that they'd risk attacking the entire clan?" Lila's eyes flickered toward him, her expression softening for a brief second. "We have many secrets, Noah, and one of them is a weapon unlike anything seen in the galaxy. The Genesis beasts were created here, engineered to be the perfect combat creatures, designed to adapt and learn from every battle." Noah's stomach churned. "So, you're telling me they're trying to steal monster technology?" Lila didn't respond right away. Instead, she held her ground, her eyes scanning the hallway outside the chamber, listening for any signs of movement. "Not just steal it," she said finally. "They want to make more. A stronger version of the Genesis beast, one that no warrior, no matter how skilled, could ever defeat." The weight of her words hit Noah like a ton of bricks. He'd stumbled into a situation far more dangerous than he could have imagined. He thought back to his time on Earth, fixing computers, battling for the last donut at the office, but nothing could have prepared him for this. "How do you know this?" Noah asked. "I mean, I get that you're all warriors, but how do you know about these Genesis beasts?" Lila's jaw tightened. "I have fought many of them, and not only that. Our clan has been guarding their secrets for centuries, but someone is trying to unlock them, Noah. That's what this breach is about. The thief or thieves are trying to reverse engineer the beasts. If they succeed..." She trailed off, her gaze darkening. The weight of the situation was not lost on her. Noah was about to ask more questions, but the sound of distant shouting caught his attention. The guards were in motion now, the hum of their weapons slicing through the air. Lila motioned for Noah to follow her as they moved swiftly toward the source of the disturbance. They arrived at a large security room where a group of clan soldiers were gathered around a holographic display, their faces grim. A young soldier looked up as Lila entered, giving her a salute. "Matriarch Storm," the soldier said, his voice strained. "We've traced the breach to the central lab. The systems have been completely bypassed. Whoever's behind this knows exactly what they're doing." Lila's gaze hardened. "Whoever they are, they won't be getting away with this." "Noah," she said, turning to him, "I need you to use your skills. We have the power logs from the breach. I want you to analyze them, find the weakness." Noah's mouth went dry. This was it. His expertise as an IT guy was about to be tested like never before. He swallowed hard and stepped forward, looking at the holographic logs the soldiers had pulled up. He started scanning the data, his mind shifting gears. Despite the chaos around him, his focus narrowed to the problem in front of him. He pulled up the power signatures and immediately noticed something strange, an unusual spike in energy right around the time the breach occurred. "It's a pattern," Noah muttered, more to himself than anyone else. "Someone's been running scans on the beasts. They're learning the exact specifications of the Genesis beast." Lila stepped closer, her eyes scanning the data over his shoulder. "Explain it to me, Noah." "Right here," he pointed to the fluctuating energy levels. "These spikes indicate high-powered systems being used. It's not just a simple hack or data theft. Someone is actively gathering genetic information, trying to reverse engineer the beasts." A cold realization hit him. Whoever's behind this isn't just stealing technology. They're trying to create their own. Lila's hand clenched around her blade, her face grim. They're trying to build an army of these beasts, stronger beasts, and if they succeed, Viora Prime will be in their hands. Noah felt a chill run down his spine. "We need to stop them before they make more." Lila nodded, her expression fierce. "We will, but we have to be careful. If they're working with someone inside the clan, they'll have more resources than we can handle alone." Noah's mind raced as he thought of the implications. Who could they trust? Who would betray their own clan to steal such dangerous technology? There was no time to waste. "We need to go to the lab," Lila said, voice low and determined. "It's where this all started, and it's where we'll end it." The two of them moved quickly, Noah trying to shake the unease in his stomach. He knew one thing for sure. This was bigger than just a random breach. They were dealing with something far more dangerous, something that could change the fate of an entire planet. As they reached the lab, Lila held her weapon at the ready. "Stay close," she said, her voice carrying the weight of authority. "We don't know who we'll find inside." Noah nodded, his heart pounding in his chest. He didn't know how to fight, but one thing was clear. He had to use his mind, his skills, to stay one step ahead of the enemies who were plotting in the shadows. The door to the lab slid open, revealing a chaotic scene. Multiple holographic consoles flashing red, and a team of masked intruders huddled over a central terminal. Lila raised her weapon. "This is it," she said, her voice low and deadly. Noah took a deep breath. Time to find out just who was behind this. Noah could feel the tension in the air, like static building up before a storm. The intruders in the lab hadn't noticed them yet. They were too focused on their work, hunched over the terminal in the center of the room. The hum of the holographic consoles filled the air, but Noah could barely hear anything over the rapid beating of his heart. This was it. This was the moment when everything would change. Lila motioned for Noah to stay low as she advanced, her body moving with the grace of a predator stalking its prey. Noah, still clumsy in the ceremonial armor, struggled to keep up, but he didn't dare slow down. The stakes had never been higher. These people weren't just stealing technology, they were on the verge of creating something catastrophic, and Noah had no intention of letting that happen. Lila whispered, her voice barely audible, "I'll take the left side. You stay right. We'll take them by surprise." Noah nodded, trying to steady his breathing. He wasn't a fighter, but right now, he had to be more than just a tourist. He had to do whatever he could to stop this madness. As Lila moved into position, Noah crouched behind one of the consoles, glancing at the intruders. They were wearing uniforms he didn't recognize, black and silver with a logo he didn't know. But one thing was clear. These people were professionals. They weren't here for a simple heist. They were here for something much bigger. Lila struck first, her blade flashing in the low light. She moved with terrifying precision, taking down two of the intruders before they even had a chance to react. The remaining three reached for their weapons, but Noah didn't give them a chance. His fingers flew over the console's controls, accessing the lab's security systems. "Lila?" Noah shouted. "I've locked down the doors. No one's getting out of here without us knowing about it." Lila's eyes flashed with approval. "Good, now we finish this." Before Noah could respond, one of the intruders lunged at him, his weapon raised. Noah barely managed to duck, the blade of the attacker's weapon missing his face by inches. His mind raced, and in that moment, something inside him clicked. He wasn't some helpless tourist. He had skills that could save them both. Using the knowledge he had of the facility's layout, Noah accessed the power systems again. With a few quick commands, he rerouted the energy flow, creating a feedback loop that overloaded the intruder's weapon. It exploded with a loud crack, sending the attacker sprawling to the floor. "Nice move," Lila said, her voice tinged with surprise. She dispatched another intruder, her blade cutting through the air with deadly efficiency. "You might not be the warrior you think you are," Noah read. Noah barely had time to respond before the final intruder, a tall figure wearing a dark helmet, drew a strange alien device from his belt. The hum of the weapon filled the room, and Noah's instincts kicked in. He dove for cover, his heart pounding in his chest. "What is that?" Noah asked, his voice shaky as he watched the intruder prepare to fire. Lila's gaze was steely. "It's a disruptor, capable of breaking through our shields. We need to stop him before." The intruder fired. Lila moved faster than Noah could track, her blade slicing through the air, knocking the disruptor from the intruder's hand before he could get another shot off. In a blur of motion, she took him down with a swift strike. Noah let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "That was too close," he muttered, trying to calm his racing pulse. Lila looked at him with something like amusement in her eyes. "You're learning. Keep your wits, Noah. This is far from over." Before Noah could respond, the sound of heavy footsteps echoed from the hallway outside the lab. More soldiers. Lila's eyes narrowed as she moved to stand between Noah and the door. "Not again," Noah muttered under his breath, but Lila was already ahead of him. She turned to him with a serious look. "We have to find out who's behind this," she said, her voice low but urgent. We need to know who's pulling the strings before this spirals out of control. Noah nodded, the weight of her words sinking in. The fight might have been won for now, but there were still bigger questions to answer. Who were these intruders? Why did they want the Genesis Beast's technology so badly? And what did they plan to do with it once they had it? As the sounds of reinforcements grew louder, Lila pulled Noah toward a nearby side corridor. "We're not done yet," she said, her voice firm. "We need to find the lab's central archive. That's where the answers are." Noah's mind raced as they moved swiftly through the darkened hallways. "I don't know if we can keep this up, Lila. More of them are going to keep coming, and eventually we'll run out of." Lila held up a hand, cutting him off. "Stop thinking like a tourist, Noah. You're not alone in this fight. We'll find the answers, together." Her words steadied him, and for the first time since he'd been dragged into this chaos, Noah felt like maybe, just maybe, he could handle what was coming next. They were up against something far bigger than they had expected, but he wasn't about to back down now. As they reached the central archive, Lila paused, scanning the area. "Here," she said, "let's see what they've been hiding." Noah's heart pounded as he stepped into the archive room with Lila. The walls were lined with holographic displays, filled with streams of data. He wasted no time and quickly accessed the primary terminal. As the data started to load, his eyes scanned the screen with growing concern. Lila watched over his shoulder. "What do you see?" Noah's voice was tense as he read the results. They weren't just trying to steal the Genesis Beast data. They've been working on creating a new generation of combat creatures, one that could easily adapt and evolve to any environment, no matter the challenge. Lila's face hardened as she absorbed the information. "And if they succeed, they'll have an army of unstoppable monsters. We need to stop them, Noah, before it's too late." Noah nodded. "I'll do what I can, but we need to find out who's behind this, who's pulling the strings." The door to the archive slammed open with a deafening crash, and Noah's heart skipped a beat. More soldiers. But this time, something was different. The leader of the group stepped forward, his face hidden behind a dark mask, his posture commanding and dangerous. Noah's breath caught in his throat. "Here we go again," he muttered under his breath. Lila's grip tightened on her weapon. "Stay behind me, Noah. It's time to finish this." As they prepared for the final showdown, Noah realized something. This wasn't just a fight for survival anymore. This was about protecting everything he had never imagined could be his, about saving a planet, a people, and his very future. He was no longer just a tourist. He was a part of something much bigger, and he wasn't going to back down now. Noah's pulse raced as he stood beside Lila, her energy blade raised and ready for whatever danger awaited them. The sound of heavy footsteps echoed down the dark corridor, growing louder with each passing second. He could feel the tension in the air, thick and oppressive. This wasn't just about the Genesis Beasts anymore. This was about everything, about the future of this entire planet, the people who lived here, and whether or not he'd make it out alive. It was impossible to ignore the gravity of the situation. Lila turned to him, her face serious but calm. "No matter what happens, Noah, we don't let them leave here with that data. We can't allow them to perfect these beasts. If we do, we'll all pay the price." Noah nodded, his mind spinning as he processed everything he had learned so far. These people weren't just thieves. They were trying to create a new generation of genetically engineered beasts, an army capable of adapting to any situation, learning and growing stronger with each fight. The implications were chilling. If they succeeded, they'd have an unstoppable force, one that could easily conquer planets, wipe out civilizations, and change the course of history forever. And that was if they didn't sell it to the highest bidder on the galactic black market. He couldn't let that happen. He couldn't allow a mistake like this to spiral any further. But how could he, a regular guy from Earth, stop such a powerful conspiracy? He wasn't a warrior. He was a tech guy who had no idea how to fight, how to survive in a world like this. Yet, for the first time, he felt a strange sense of purpose building inside him. Maybe it wasn't about physical strength. Maybe it was about using the mind, the way he had in that gladiator arena, finding patterns, exploiting weaknesses. The doors to the central archive slammed open, and a group of soldiers flooded into the room. The leader, wearing dark armor and a menacing mask, stepped forward, his eyes scanning the room with an air of certainty, as if he knew he was about to win. "I've had enough of this," the masked figure growled. "Your interference ends here." Lila's eyes locked onto the intruder with an intensity that could cut through steel. "You'll have to get past me first," she said, her voice low and unwavering. Noah's heart skipped a beat. He had no weapon, no backup. His only weapon was his mind, and he had to hope that would be enough. The intruders moved with swift precision, their weapons drawn. Lila reacted immediately, slashing through the air with her energy blade, each strike precise and deadly. It was a blur of movement, Lila fighting like a force of nature, a deadly dance of grace and power. Noah stood frozen for a moment, watching as she took down two of the soldiers with swift, lethal strikes. But the leader, the one with the dark mask, was still standing, watching them with cold, calculating eyes. Noah's mind raced. He couldn't just stand here, paralyzed by fear. There had to be something he could do. He glanced at the consoles around the room, his fingers itching to move. If he could tap into the lab systems, maybe he could disable the intruders' weapons, or at least slow them down. He made a split-second decision. Sprinting toward one of the consoles, Noah frantically typed in commands, trying to access the security systems. He could feel the sweat trickling down his forehead as the tension built in the room. He glanced over his shoulder, watching Lila fight with ferocity, her every move calculated, while the leader approached her with a sinister smile, clearly planning his next move. Just as Lila parried an incoming blow, Noah's hand flew across the keyboard, rerouting the facility's power to overload the intruders' weapon systems. A surge of energy shot through the lab, and several of the attackers' weapons malfunctioned, sparking and fizzling out in an instant. Lila took advantage of the distraction, spinning and disarming one of the remaining soldiers in a single fluid motion. She turned to Noah, her gaze filled with approval. "You're not just a tourist anymore," she said, her voice almost amused. Noah exhaled sharply. "I'm starting to think you might be right." He took a step back, watching as the remaining soldiers retreated in confusion, their weapons now useless. But the mass leader wasn't done yet. "You're making a mistake," he snarled. "You think you've won, but you've only delayed the inevitable." Lila didn't hesitate. She stepped forward, her blade raised high. "No, you've lost." The leader lunged toward her, but Lila was faster. With a single swift motion, she disarmed him, knocking his weapon to the ground. He staggered backward, eyes wide with shock. "This isn't over," he spat. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." "I know exactly who I'm dealing with," Lila replied, her voice ice cold. "And I'm not afraid." Noah stepped forward, looking at the defeated leader. "You're part of a much bigger problem, aren't you? Who's behind all this?" he demanded. The leader sneered, wiping blood from his lip. "You think this is over? You don't know the half of it. There are others, much more powerful than me. This was just the beginning." Noah felt a cold shiver run down his spine. "Who?" he demanded again, his voice shaking with urgency. But before the leader could answer, a sharp voice from the doorway interrupted them. "Enough," a woman's voice said, strong and commanding. Noah turned to see a figure stepping into the room. A tall woman, draped in ceremonial armor with silver markings etched across her face. She carried herself with the weight of authority, and the way she looked at Noah made him feel like she could see straight through him. Lila's expression shifted, and Noah recognized the shift in her posture. It was the look of someone who knew exactly who they were facing. "Matriarch Celine," Lila said, bowing her head slightly. "I didn't expect you to be here so soon." Celine's eyes narrowed as she surveyed the scene, her gaze lingering on the defeated intruders. "It seems I underestimated how much damage this traitor could cause," she said coldly, walking forward with an air of authority. "You've done well, Lila. And you," she turned to Noah, her gaze assessing. "You've proven yourself to be far more than just a traveler. What's your name?" "Noah Reed," he said, trying to steady his voice. I'm just trying to stop this madness." Celine regarded him for a long moment before nodding, a slight flicker of something akin to approval crossing her features. "You've done more than most would, but this fight isn't over yet." Noah felt a wave of relief wash over him, followed by a surge of determination. He had no idea what was going to happen next, But for the first time since arriving on Viora Prime, he felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. Standing by Lila's side, fighting for a cause that was bigger than him. He wasn't just a tourist anymore. He was a part of this world now, and as the door to the lab closed behind them, locking out the chaos, Noah knew that whatever came next, he was ready. The door to the lab slammed shut behind them, sealing the chaos inside. Noah stood in the cool silence of the corridor, Lila at his side, the weight of the situation pressing down on him. They had won today, stopped the breach, prevented the creation of an army of genetically engineered monsters, but the war was far from over. There were still unanswered questions, shadows lurking just beyond their reach, and somewhere in the depths of the galaxy, someone was watching them, planning their next move. Noah could feel it in his bones. This wasn't just a fight for survival anymore. It was a battle for the future of a planet, a people, and perhaps the entire galaxy. And he, Noah Reed, an IT guy from Earth, had somehow become a key player in this intergalactic struggle. Lila turned to him, her expression softer than it had been earlier. "You did well," she said, her voice carrying a hint of approval. "I didn't expect you to be so resourceful." Noah chuckled, though it was more out of nerves than humor. "I guess I've learned a few things since I got here. Mostly that I'm way over my head." He paused, his gaze drifting toward the horizon where the twin moons of Viora Prime hung low in the sky, their silver light casting eerie shadows on the crystal spires of the city. "But I'm not running anymore." Lila looked at him with something close to admiration. "No, you're not, and that's what matters." Before Noah could respond, a soft chime echoed through the corridor, and a voice came over the intercom. "Matriarch Selene requests your presence. The council will reconvene to discuss the next steps." Noah's heart sank slightly. "The council? What now?" Lila smiled, though it was a little wry. "Now the real work begins. They'll want answers. They'll want to know what we do next. And they'll want to see where you stand, Noah Reed. This isn't just about saving the clan anymore. It's about deciding what kind of future we want." Noah felt the weight of her words. He had never signed up for any of this. But somehow, he had found himself at the heart of a conflict that could shape the very future of Viora Prime, and possibly beyond. And in the process, he had formed a bond with someone who, in the beginning, had seemed so distant and unreachable. Lila wasn't just a warrior. She was someone who understood the value of what he brought to the table, something more than just strength or combat prowess. She valued his mind, his ability to see the world differently. As they approached the council chamber, Noah couldn't shake the feeling that something was shifting in the air. This wasn't just another political meeting. This was the beginning of something bigger. He had no idea what the future held, but he knew one thing for sure. He wasn't the same man who had stepped onto this planet just days ago. Lila gave him one last look before they entered the chamber. "Whatever happens in there, Noah, remember, you've already proven your worth." Noah nodded, trying to suppress the anxiety that had begun to bubble up in his chest. "I'm just trying to do what's right." As the doors to the council chamber opened, Noah was met with the expectant eyes of the elders. Matriarch Selene stood at the head of the room, her presence commanding, while the other council members watched him closely. The room was silent, the weight of the moment hanging heavy. "We stand on the precipice of a new age," Selene began, her voice carrying through the chamber. "The Genesis beasts were not just weapons. They were a test, one we have failed in many ways. But in the face of this threat, we've also seen something else, something we didn't expect." Her gaze shifted to Noah. "You, Noah Reed, have shown us that even in the darkest of times, there is hope, that there is strength in intellect, in cunning, and in alliances that span the stars." Noah shifted uncomfortably under their scrutiny, but Lila's reassuring presence beside him steadied his nerves. "You have proven yourself more than worthy of the Ironclad Clan," Selene continued. "And now we must ask, what role will you play in the future of Viora Prime? Will you stand with us as an ally, as one of our own? Or will you return to your home, leaving this world to its fate?" The question hung in the air, and for a moment, Noah was silent. His mind raced. This wasn't just about the fight anymore. This was about choosing a future. His future. For the first time, Noah realized that he had a choice. He wasn't bound to this world by accident anymore. He had proven his worth, had forged a place for himself here. But was he ready to give up everything he knew to fight for something bigger? To stand by Lila, to stand by the clan, and face whatever dangers were waiting for them on the horizon? Lila stepped forward, her voice steady. Noah Reed, this world, this galaxy, needs people who are willing to think differently. We need people like you. Noah turned to her, his heart racing, and then he made his decision. I'm in. I'm staying. Celine's eyes gleamed with approval, but there was something else in them, something darker, more complex. Very well, Noah Reed. Welcome to the Ironclad Clan. As Noah stepped into his new future, the sound of the council chamber doors closing behind him felt like the finality of a decision. The fight was far from over, but for the first time, Noah felt ready to face whatever came next. The shadows of the past still loomed, and there were enemies lurking in the dark corners of the galaxy. But Noah had a purpose now, and together with Lila and the clan, he would fight to make sure the future was one worth living for. But as he left the chamber, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. A new chapter was unfolding, one that held more questions than answers. And somewhere in the depths of space, there were still forces moving in the shadows, planning, watching. Noah Reed had made his choice, but the true test was yet to come. The galaxy was vast, and there was more to uncover than he ever imagined.